In this video, I wanted to talk a little about mortgages and what we refer to as amortization. I did promise this in a previous video that I'll show you how the banks actually, work out how you are going to pay back a loan that was taken from them, right? Mortgages being a loan that you probably take for buying property and doing construction. Some people would take a mortgage to do other things, but mostly they do it for the buying of property or the construction of a home on land that you own and so. Right? So we're going to talk a little about that, and we're going to focus on how the bank would have you plan now, how you would amortize, how you pay off, how you would work on decreasing that loan that you owe them bit by bit. Right? So we're going to talk a lot about amortization schedules. And you will see how those annuity formulas are going to come in very useful now. Right? So you're going to see I'm going to refer to them a whole lot. The examples, you're going to see how they're used over and over and over. And the compound interest formulas, you will see how that is being used. Right? So on screen, what you're seeing here is an example of an amortization schedule. Right? Take some time. When you see it at first, you want to know what's this all about. Right? So what you're basically seeing here is what a schedule will look like. They have numbers there, right? They have numbers there. So what you're seeing here is okay at the beginning when you take the mortgage, right? Which is a kind of loan, right? So you put the amount here. And sometimes you go to the, and I've done this before, you take a loan and the loan agent will say, all right, they might ask you how long you want the loan for. They might ask you how much you desire to pay an average, like, and so on. So depending on how, right? You can sometimes tell them how much you can pay, and then they'll work out how long you take to pay. Sometimes you tell them how long you want a loan for, and you will work out the payment and your formulas for all of that, right? As a matter of fact, online you have amortization schedules that can be generated for you in less than a second. You just have to put in all the information, right? But the thing about it is that some of those calculators are fixed. You can only do one thing. That can be complicated. So it's good for you to know your formulas, know how to apply them, and make up a schedule. Each bank will have a computer program. And that computer program can do several things. Remember, these are big, rich institutions, right? So they'll have specialized software written for them that will generate the schedule. And of course, they have a whole lot of other charges. This is an oversimplified approach that I'm going to discuss in this video here, right? Because they have all kinds of hidden fees. They have to put in insurance. Because if you die, you won't pay back the money. So the real world is much more complex. So you were seeing a little bit of mathematics, and some people were, scared and complaining. If you want to enter the world of business, right, and accounting and economics, and so the world is very complex. The mathematics is far more complex than what you're going to see here, right? But I'm just breaking it up into pieces so that you have a basic, a rudimentary understanding of the workings of these things. And when you get into the real world, let's say you go to work for a bank, right? And you turn up there and you never hear about an amortization schedule. People say, look, finish up today and don't come back tomorrow. You have to know about these things. You have to have an idea. When you hear people use words like that, you must have an idea what it means. It's, oh, yeah, one of my classes, he talked about amortization and amortization schedule and so, right? So, yeah. So what we're seeing here is that whenever you take a loan, all right, somehow we're going to work out with some formulas, of course, how much you will pay each month. Well, that's if you're paying by month, right? Sometimes some people pay quarterly, some people pay semi-annually, some people um be paying. Uh, Give me a second. Somebody is messaging me, and that is going to disturb this entire video. Yes, I'm back. Oh God, this thing. Y'all are not easy enough. Student now messaging me while I'm doing my recording. Yeah, I need to turn off this program probably. Yeah, back to what we were talking about. I hope I don't get any more messages. Yeah, so where was I? So they'll work out some kind of payment plan that you will make regular, whether be it monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or yearly, right? What is going to happen with that payment? Each of these payments, they're going to break it up into two parts. And what is going to happen? You're going to pay off the interest, right? Or the portion of loan you take, right? So you notice it's an interest portion. That payment is going to be broken into two parts: interest and the principal portion. In other words, you're going to pay some interest and you are going to pay a portion of your principal off. And you hear the bank, sometimes you hear the bank tell you, and people are going to say, you know what? I took a loan, but my bank is charging interest on reducing balance. That's the term they use, reducing balance. So notice here, you pay a little portion and a balance is left, right? Because you pay off a little of the loan along with some interest, right? And you owe them a balance. You're going to charge interest on it again. So your next payment, you're going to pay a little bit of interest and you're going to pay a little portion of your principal that you borrowed. And another balance is going to be left, and that is going to continue. These dots mean is going to continue for a number of periods, whether be it months, quarterly, semi-annually, yearly, right down to the point where this is like your second to last payment with how much you pay in interest and how much you pay off from your principal. That's the balance that is left. And finally, right, you pay off everything and you end up with zero as the balance. So you have paid off your loan. And then you can add up all the totals to see how much money you pay on, how much interest you pay, right? And this is supposed to add up to the amount of money you borrow and so, right? And sometimes last payment might be a little odd. It's not equal to the rest. It might be a little off because, because of how money, the arithmetic works. Let's say you owe a cent more or a couple cents or a couple dollars more just to clean up the loan, right? That last payment might be a little odd. So don't be alarmed. Good. So when you see a real one, when you see a real schedule, you're gonna appreciate it some more. We're gonna go to a real one now. No worries, so. So let's take an example. All right, let's take an example how you're going to work out all these things you see in that schedule. Don't get scared. Good. So here's an example. So this person took out a loan from a bank, $10,000. All right, see here, $10,000. The loan has an annual interest rate of 10% parallel, right? Compounded annually, not bad. 4 years you want to pay it off, right? Good. So you want to determine the amount of the each yearly payment, right? And I think this is not a realistic situation, right? Um, but we'll work with it. Doesn't matter. The principle is the same, right? All you gotta know is okay. Um, you gotta know, well, okay, if what is the compounding period, whether it's monthly, quarterly, and all of that, and the formulas for everything, right? And well, usually you don't pay at the end of each year. You usually pay, more regularly during the year. And so, but let's take what the question asks, right? I want you to determine the amount of the payment each year and come up with an amortization schedule for the loan. Also, that's what the printout that will going to be on the computer, right? And well, you'll start paying. Good. So all of this that you see below here now, all of this here it's the information given, right? It's the information. Right. So the interest is compounded annually, so the frequency of the compounding is 1. Deposits are made one time a year or 2, right? And yeah, there's going to be 1. And because the 2 are equal, notice this is going to be an annuity, right? So you can classify it as an ordinary simple annuity because those 2 are equal, right? The compounding frequency and the deposits are both made annually. The loan period 4 years, that no mystery there. Number of payments then is going to be 4 that you pay in yearly. Yeah, all this, yeah. Interest for compounding period, same 10% because it's once a year. Good. So your loan amount is 10. It's going to be replayed at the end of the 4-year period. So the future value is going to be 0, right? So nothing new there. Everything very, very simple. All that information is written down. Right? So let's go now to calculate the amount that this person will have to pay every year, right? Good. Simple formula. This formula was given before in a previous video, and in some notes I gave you an annuity payment, right? Payment for ordinary, remember ordinary simple annuity, yes. So this is a formula. So you can look under that heading, you will see this formula. Substituting the values, principal value, the interest rate, number of payments, and so on. Put all of them in there, right? And you calculate, you get roughly $3,154, you're rounding that to 71 cents, right? So now we can take this value, we're going to put it into the schedule now, right? And I think that's what you're waiting for. You're excited. How do I take this value and then, how do I do the schedule? But let's see. So this is the schedule. Don't get scared, right? Let's start from the beginning. So we borrow $10,000, right? And for that fourth year, you will have to pay 10% interest on that 10,000. So you have to pay $1,000 in interest, right? So out of this $3,154.71, 1,000 of that is interest. Is the bank? That's what the bank charges you, not in terms of interest. So in reality, you only pay $2,154.71 towards the principal portion, the $10,000 that you borrow. See? So out of this money you pay for that first year, $3,154.71. 1,000 was interest. The rest is what you paid off towards the real loan, right? See? So now, how much do you owe the bank? Well, if you borrow 10,000 and you paid off $2,154.71, you now owe the bank at the end of 1 year this, right? $7,845.29, sorry, right? So you see, notice we're not subtracting the total payment from the 10,000 because 1,000 of this is interest. That is the earning of the bank. That is the profit for the bank. Right? So yeah. So now you owe them this. You carry that over now to the new year, year 2. Right? So the beginning of the year, you owe them this. So at the end of the first year, again, same process at the beginning. 10% of that is this. So out of this, $3,154.71, $781.53 you have to pay in interest, right? So in effect, you are paying this amount now, right? Towards the balance that you owe them, $7,845.20. You're only paying $23.70.80 towards that. So at the end of the second year, this is what you owe them. How you get that? You owe them $7,845.29. You pay them towards that amount. You pay $2,370.18, right? Towards that loan that you owe them. So you get $5,475.11. This is what you owe them now at the end of the second year. And you repeat that procedure right now. Right? You repeat the process every year. You pay a portion of interest, you pay a portion towards the amount you borrow or the amount you owe them. The reducing balance, what? Reducing balance, reducing balance. See? And so you go on, reducing balance. Go right down until at the end, you notice I told you about that odd one. 71 cents, but you 70 cents because you're paying a little. Right? And at the end, you owe them nothing. So that's how you construct the ship. Right? Take some time studying, see how they get each number. It's not very difficult. Not very difficult. And I can very well give you in test, right? I can give you a schedule and I can blot out a number or two, I can do that. So blot out a number or two from the schedule and you will have to fill it in. How you like that? Right? So I give you the schedule, right? I describe a situation. I say, this is the schedule. And I have to fill in the number, I will probably put a little blank spot and say, this is A, and that's B, and that's C, and you have to say what A is, what is B, what is C, So I wouldn't use a schedule and just ask you to find one number. I'd probably have you finding about 2 or 3 numbers, right? I'm getting ideas for the test already. Right? Okay. And of course, you have so many more now different situations that you can have when it comes to mortgages and schedules and so, right? I'll probably do 1 or 2. Let's see another one. Let me see this one. So this loan is 15,000. Payments are going to be made every quarter. What is it? End of quarter. So that's some ordinary something. Ordinary type of annuity. Payment, they give you the payment here. You see that? They give you. So maybe sometimes they do that in the bank. They ask you how much you can pay every month. How much you going to pay? And you tell them. I've done that before. I'm going to the bank and the person is saying, how much you afford to pay every month? I tell them I have to pay 20,000, 40,000, So, so people keep messaging, holding. Yes. So they give you the interest rate, and the interest rate is compounded semi-annually. Please note that, right? But we are paying quarterly. So because of the difference there, we are dealing with a general annuity, right? Ordinary comes from the fact that you are doing it at the end of the quarter. And the general comes from the fact that this one is quarterly, but this one is semi-annual. It's because of the payment period and the compounding period. There isn't, they are not synchronized. Well, then we have a general annuity. So we put on all the information. Let's see what they're asking for by the way. They said find a number of payments needed. Number of payments. I think I didn't do examples with this in the previous video, but I did for a moment. I should put up a slide or two where you have N, where we rearrange the annuity formula to make N the subject. I'm sure there are one or two. I think they are supposed to have about 4 formulas, right? If you don't see it in the video, check the notes. Check the notes, right? It's a very complex formula, but it's there. I think I do have it. So here they want you to find the number of payments, that N in the formula. And then they want you to come up with this shit, right? So all the information is here. All the information is here. I have to remember you, but they will show up these way now. So they'll show up on the next slide, right? So see if you can get it. Frequency of compounding is 2, payments 4, because every quarter you're paying something. They tell you the type of annuity, so you look for the right formula. If you can't figure out the type of annuity, you will not use the right formula. Very important, right? Good. So your interest rate for compounding period, that's it, 3.4. Everything else is there, right? Good. So let's do some calculation. What do they want? They want a number of payments, and then they want the schedule. Good. This is the formula. First, you have to find I subscript 2 because there's some difference between the compounding frequency and how often you will pay for it. Right? So you have to find I subscript 2. And we did annuity, we did talk about this, right? And after you have done that, this is the formula I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure it's in the video on annuity as well as it's in the notes I gave you. Right? If you don't see it, you can complain. I can probably I'll have to give you one in some other notes, right? So it involves some logarithms, lim. So you put the numbers in and you calculate, and I think they rounded it up to 4, right? 3.4 is the answer, but you round up to 4 to make sure you pay off the people all the money. Right? Good. So let's see how we will make up the schedule. So you got a number of payments. Notice. And that should be evident in the schedule as well. Let's see. Good. So this is what did we say? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we got 4, right? Yeah. So notice we borrowed the 15,000. 15,000. We're paying this every month. How much is the interest? Right? How much is the interest? Well, 15,000, but I remember this periodic interest rate, right? I subscript to, you find that. So out of this 4,500, this is interest. So you actually pay off only this amount towards this 15,000 that you borrowed, right? So you now owe the people 15,000 minus that $4,247.13. You owe them this. And you repeat the procedure over and over. Here for the 4,500, this is your interest. It's what you owe them. That's this times your interest rate. This is your interest for that year. Sorry, it's not. Is it year? You're paying how often? 1 second. Oh, you do end of quarter payment. Sorry about that, right? You do end of quarter, not year. This is your first quarter, your second quarter, your third quarter, your fourth quarter, right? Yes. So it's not year now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Not years, but this is a quarter, that's another quarter, that's another quarter, that's another quarter. Yes. And you repeat the same process. Pay them this, This is interest. This is what you pay towards what you owe them. This is what you end up owing them at the end of the year because you paid off a little and the balance keeps reducing and you repeat the procedure right down to the end here, right? Notice here, what is happening. So here, you notice the amount, right, is not, remember we talked about this, but this last amount might not be 4,500 because you have been paying a certain amount and because of the arithmetic, this is all that you owe them. You owe them the interest and a balance of this, right? So these two add up and that's how you get that. So that last number might be different. So you don't expect every time you pay that $4,500. I think that last amount, if you pay them $4,500, I'll give you money, right? So, yeah. And you amortize the loan here. At the end, you don't owe them. These are two good examples. There are a couple more. I just will go through quickly. Some examples. They're more complex, right? All they do now is they talk about maybe the interest rate change or sometimes you do a loan and the interest rate change over time. Sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up, and you just gotta be careful about that. You gotta know whether the interest rate is locked in. It's good to negotiate these things. But sometimes if you go and take a loan, people say 10% interest, and next year they say, oh, the interest gone up to 15. You can't fight the banks. You gotta listen, you gotta ask questions. So you take a loan, you don't end up in trouble, right, with the banks. Those things happen, right? All right, let me take a opening, right? So the person took a loan, $20,000. The loan is compounded quarterly, 4%. The interest rate is 4% per year, but it's compounded quarterly. The loan is scheduled to be repaid over 8 years, right? With payments due at the end of each quarter. Most course in Ghana, when they take a mortgage, sometimes they do it monthly. They tell the bank, take out so much from the salary and put it towards the loan I took, Yeah. Or sometimes you can have this kind of bargain, where you have a little more time to put together the money. So calculate the remaining balance on the loan after the first year. You don't really need a schedule here, but you could do the calculation easy. So, okay, so the loan is this is the interest rate for the year, compounded quarterly, and they're paying every quarter. So these two are the same. So you have this kind of annuity going on, right? 8 years, number of payments, that's the interest per year, the compounding period, the interest rate is going to be 1%, okay. That's a loan, and you must make it. All right. So that's all the information here, right? All right. Let's do a calculation. What's it they want? They want this one very simple. They want to know how much you owe after 1 year, right? And the questions can continue from here. They can tell you how much you owe in the 5th year after 5 years, Or sometimes you're paying a loan, how much I owe these people, man? Like, I know when I'm on this loan, you might want to know, right? 4th year, you want to know how much you end up owing. So do the calculation. You're going to pay, you put in all the numbers in, and you end up paying, okay, $733,500. That's a payment. But remember, you have to break this up now, right? You have to break this up in terms of interest and what you pay towards the balance and so, right? So we're going to work on that. So keep this small figure in mind, $733.42. So After 1 year then, right? So um, what do you owe? So their loan, notice, they're calculating it here, right? So the balance after 1 year, that's the 400 equals to, well, the future value of the loan minus what you have paid them, right? What you have paid them. Cool. So notice we're using the, what is it? This is the compound interest for borrow. I think it was 20,000 and you borrowed for 4 years, right? So they work out it here, they work out it, and you owe them this at the, that's what you're supposed to pay them, right? Sorry, it's not 4 years. It's 4 times per year, right? 4 period compounding periods. Sorry about that. 4 compounding periods. And the interest rate was, remember, 1%. So 1/100 is 0.0. Yeah. Sorry about that. So that's what you owe them at the end of a year, right? So yeah, how much you pay, right? The payment is 702,042 times all of this is going to give you look out the uh, future value, right, of the payments made up to that date, right? So you end up paying $2,977.98, right? So you actually owe them now this amount of money. Take away that from that. There are other ways you can do it, but remember, we haven't calculated. We don't want to, okay, we can take the 733,042 and calculate the interest and subtract it. That can be true, right? And then you take the amount and then subtract it from the 20,000. But no, this is a different approach. You can try that approach and see that it agrees, right? You can do that. So you actually owe them at the end of the 4th year this amount of money, right? Okay. And as I said, the problems only got like they're not hard, but they're just pieces, too many pieces now, right? You're gonna have a lot of pieces now. But don't get fooled and think that like this is something you can't crack, right? Look at this one. This one full of pieces. Um, this man took a loan, right? A mortgage. It's to be repaid with monthly payments of $2,375.11 at the end of each month. Okay. The interest rate is 4.62% compounded monthly to and the loan is to be amortized in 15 years, right? So very realistic looking. I don't like that monthly component. Yeah, they'll pay a lot of money when you finish in interest, right? So let's see. We want to calculate the interest portion of the 24th payment and then calculate the principal portion of the 24th payment, right? So those two. So, all right, what do we do here? Get all the information together. That's what we see here. You're going to pay every month, so the compounding frequency is going to be 12. The deposits are made at the end of the year, so is that what it said? I think this is an error here because you're making deposits of $2,375.11 at the end of each month. So I think something is wrong, right? So there's an error here. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Every month. Sorry, this should be every month. Right? There's a mistake here. So yeah, that's going to be 12 because every month you pay. You make 12 payments per month. And because these two quantities are equal, you are looking at an ordinary simple annuity, right? So you know which formula you're looking for. 15, you know, 180 payments in that period. Nominal interest is given, but the interest per compounding period is going to be this, like that, like that. Everything is given, right? Mhm. Yeah, there's a mistake there. Hmm. I hope people are going to watch this video and know to make this correction in their notes. Because I'm finding little errors in the notes. Good. So let's go to the calculation. What they want to find, calculate the interest portion of the 24th period. And then the principal portion of the 24th period, right? So this is a little reasoning here. Right? It's like, okay, let me just give you a little illustration to know what they're trying to do. It's like, okay, let me say, I'll watch cricket. And you want to know, our HMI is making runs, and let's say he played 25, uh, 21 games, right? 21 games. So his first game, he made 5 runs, right up to, let me say, the 19th game, he made 12 runs, 20th game, he made 50 runs, 21st game, he made, say, 30 runs. So if you want to know how much runs he made in his 21st game, you'll have to minus all the runs he made, right? In the first 20 games. And I think that's the reason with it, right? That's the reason with it. So notice, anyways, that telling you here that the balance at the end of um, the focal date, right, is going to be equal to the future value of the original loan minus the future value of the payments up to the focal date. Now, what that means is that, okay, they're going to calculate how much money you owe them, right? Up to 20 years, right? 20 years. And then you're going to minus the value of the payments you make in 20 periods, right? Sorry, not years. I think this end is not years because you're doing this thing by the month, right? Let me see. Check back for the month. Yes, sorry, yes. So month, we're dealing with months. So after 20 months, right? How much you owe them minus how much the payments that you pay will clear off out of that loan. Right? So you owe them and they calculate this here. You borrow this at this interest rate, 20 periods of time. This is what you owe. Minus your payments that you made to them, the 20 payments, will give you this. So when you subtract the three, this is what you end up now owing them. Good. So you owe them this amount of money at the beginning now of the 21st period, right? And that's what you were looking for, right? Good. So now you're going to the second part where you have to calculate the interest, right? So the interest is simply going to be owe them this times the interest rate. I don't get that, right? So how much now are you going to be paying in terms of the loan now of itself? for that 24 speed. Well, if you're paying $1,000, $1,090.80 as interest, the 2375 that you pay for that period, $1,284.31 is really what you're paying towards the loan, right? Interest you're paying is $1,090.80, right? So notice your interest is actually rivaling the amount of money you're paying towards the loan of itself, right? It's not a very good loan, I would say. Right? So yeah, that's the kind of thing. And the problems go on like that. They can get more complex, they can show you more conditions and so on, right? The notes will have some extra ones that you can see if you can wrap your head around. So, right? So, I mean, your test is not going to test very complex problems. The test is going to test your basic understanding of annuities and your, how your basic understanding of amortization and so, right? So don't get scared. Let's talk briefly about types of mortgages and so on. Just in one example. All right, so they have all these, as I told you. Whenever one is taking out a mortgage, it's good to know the details of it before. Next year, people come and say the rate gone up and the rate gone down, and all kinds of things happening. Right? So be very careful. So these are some of them. Fixed rate mortgage. Right? And I'll tell you this is safer because in Guyana, nothing, your rate never, the interest rate never goes down. The government goes up. If you're going to lock in the rate, it will be good, right? As compared to notice they talk about the variable rate over here, right? You got closed mortgages, right? You have a specific term and you're going to be penalized. If you want to pay off the loan early, people say, man, I look for get some profit from you when you're trying to pay off this loan. No, I want to penalize you, right? And then sort of things. And then open mortgages, people are free to repay how much they want. And they can go on and refinance the loan. And I kind of think they say, right? So they say, look, I'm going to take another loan, pay off this loan, because that loan has better conditions. It happens. It happens. Right? I think I did this one time where I owed some money on the credit card and a loan was being offered to me. The conditions of the loan was 15%, whereas the credit card was charging around 20%. Right? So I took it. Right? I took it and I transferred the money, clear off that one, and I have another loan. Yeah. All right, you do one problem this year. A little complex, but doable. So, okay, this person purchased the house, 350,000. They made a down payment of 15% of the value, and that's how mortgages work, right? You pay a down payment, and then the bank lends you the rest, right? And that's what you have to amortize over time. So they have 20 years to pay it off. So person negotiate a fixed interest rate of 3.8% compounded semi-annually for a 3-year term. Then some of the bank tell you that. Let me see how you're going to pay off this first 3, and then you can see what you're going to do afterwards. Right? So they say calculate the end of quarter payment size, right, for that 3-year term. Find the outstanding principal balance at the end of the 3-year term. Notice that. Calculate the new end of quarter payment if the mortgage was renewed for not 3 years at 2.5% compounded semi-annually. So let's see. So the compound frequency is 2 payments are paid quarterly. And I think we're going to say that. Down payment of the For some reason, I'm not seeing where it says payments are going to be made every quarter. Oh, they didn't say that in the information. They tell you that in the question. All right, sorry. They tell you that in the question. All right. Yeah. These two are not equal, so you're dealing with an ordinary general entity. 20 years, 4 times a year, all right, you're going to pay that. Nominal interest rate is that. Periodic interest rate, you're going to do that. The term two, no, that's after 3 years, another 3 years. So again, you get all the information here. That's your interest rate for term two. And your down payment is that, right? So let's see what we're going to do with all this information. So first we need to find the amount of the mortgage because you made a down payment, right? So you really and truly don't, you know, borrow the full 350, you borrow 29% because you come up with this. And banks require when you take a mortgage from them, right? That they usually show some commitment. You know, they want to see that you committed to this project that you're going to do with this money. So they want you to put in some money, right? And okay, so they'll lend you a part. So they lend you that. So the periodic interest, we have to use this because C and P are different. So yeah, we find this. And your payment is going to be, okay, so this is the payment formula. You'll have to go look for type of annuity you're dealing with and the relevant payment form. You do that calculation, I mean, this is what you're going to pay every quarter, right? Good. Good. Next, so it's after 3 years, right? You want to know what's going to happen after 3 years, how much you can owe them. So you have to work out how much you payment you're going to pay within that first 3 years, 12 of them you pay. Right, so the number of compounding periods in term 1, 6, all of that, right? So they're going to use the compound interest formula to calculate how much you owe them after this 3 year. And you are paying money that is going to kind of add up to a certain amount, right? So they lend you this. This is the interest rate for 6 compounding periods. That's 6 years, right? 6 years. And you're paying this, so that is going to generate some interest too. So effect of that is going to be $67,206.75. So you're paying this amount against this loan, right? This loan. So I think all of this works out to give you this. You owe the bank that, you paid off that. So at the end of this year, at the end of the first term, this is what you can. At the end of the first 3 years, that's what you earn the money. And then the second part of the calculation is just a repeat of this now, but the interest rate and so is a little different. Right? So you have the same calculation, but with different numbers. So this 265, 830, 61 is what you, it's like a new loan at the end of the first 3 years. Right? They're going to repeat the same calculation. Right? So they're telling you same thing here. They're explaining all of this. So the present value of the loan that you're going to take, right, is going to be this. All right. So I'll give you some information here. Uh, 60K, let me see everyone. Your interest is 1.25. Okay, put all of that in the formula. So you have to find I subscript 2 because the compounding frequency and the payment per year is a little different. So yeah, you'll have to do that, right? So you find this. All right, so what you need to do now is calculate your payment. And you put it in this formula. There is a formula like this in a previous video or notes. And you'll end up having to pay this amount of money to clear off that loan, right? By the end of, I think, how many years is it? 20 years? Well, remember you paid for 3 years already, right? So a new loan from them was this amount here. Was this amount. So for 17 years, you'll have to pay 68 more payments, right? So in all, it's 20 years, but the second part of the loan, right? After 3 years, you get a new arrangement, right? New interest rate and so on. So you have to make 68 payments more of this amount, and that will clear off the loan nicely. Right? So what you're seeing here is just the problem is just complicated, kind of two-stage loan this, right? But don't get scared. You just take it in pieces, right? You may not have to solve something like this in a test. It might not be this complicated. May go. There's the operating word here, right? But what you have to see this as is it's a two-stage product. For 3 years, this is what went on. At the end of the 3 years, you owe the bank and you have to pay them off. That was a 20-year, right? So you did something to the first 3 years or 17 years later. How much you got to pay them now? So if you can clear off this way. Right? But this is the period. So what you see in this whole video here, right? It's really how we can harness the power of those formulas, the compounding interest formula, as well as the annuity formulas to solve various problems, right? And you also saw what an amortization schedule looks like as well, right? You can construct one of your own. As I tell you, there's softwares. Each bank will have very sophisticated software that will do it, but at least you have an idea how the thing works, right? And that's sufficient at your level. You just, course, your students now being introduced to the world of finance, right? And you get into the banks, and I hope one of you might end up, a couple of you might end up managing banks. You'll sit down with, all the people who are heading the banks and so on, hire actuaries and so on, work out how much interest to charge people, and that's how it will keep the bank going. Right? All right, so that's for that. Go through these calculations. If you have any query, feel free during the tutorials. We can always talk about them, right? You can always clarify them.